You have made a lot of money personally, and you've enriched a lot of corporations with advertising by getting on here and spewing lies and conspiracy theories to folks who trust you. And so what I'm asking you to do is to tell your voters right now that Donald Trump lost the election in 2020.
At least you've resolved the lie that is Democrats are now for voter ID. It's not your show, sir, but at least you resolved the idea that Democrats are not for voter ID.
Did Donald Trump lose the election in 2020?
Real quick.
Can you answer the question? Did Donald Trump lose the election in 2020?
I'm answering questions. Don't really feel any obligation to answer anything
an uncomfortable question for you?
Hey everybody, welcome back in. Grab a seat for this one, because it is a rough 8 minutes for the guy holding the microphone. Here is the setup. James Talarico, a state representative from Texas and a former middle school teacher, walks into a Fox News studio to face Pete Hegseth over a bill moving through the Texas Legislature and the walkout his caucus staged to stall it. Pete opens by telling James what he believes, before James has said anything at all. And somewhere in the middle of it, the guest stops answering and starts asking. And that is when the whole dynamic flips. Do yourself a favor and stay through to the finish, because the strongest line in this entire exchange is also the last one spoken, and it lands on a target nobody saw coming. Also, drop a comment and tell me what city or country you are watching from. I genuinely love seeing how far these clips travel, and I read way more of them than I probably should. Alright, let's get into it.
Here now, a member of that chorus, Democrat Texas State Representative James Talarico, who recently flew on a private plane and currently resides in Washington, D.C. James, thank you very much for being here. Now, we know you met with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi today, and the talking points, they've been issued. You've been told to say you're protecting democracy, that Republicans are authoritarians and racist, they're blocking the ballot box, you want voter suppression. I've got it. Texas Republicans are racist. But you're in D.C. now, and the talk is all about H.R. 1, and they're gleefully promoting your effort to promote their national effort. It kind of seems like they're just using you as a prop or a puppet.
So, I'm an eighth-generation Texan. I've only been in D.C. twice in my life. This is the second time. I'm a former middle school teacher who ran for office just to try to make my community better. And I swore an oath when I first got elected 2 years ago to uphold the Constitution of the United States, and also the Constitution of the great state of Texas. And after our former president, Donald Trump, started his big lie that the election was stolen, Republican legislators in capitals across the country.
Wait, how did you make this about Donald Trump in 20 seconds? That's a bit of a record. So now you're going to voter suppression, which I get it. But if this is all about your allegiance to Texas and you're an eighth-generation Texan and all that, and the Constitution, by the way, the Constitution, Section 1, Article 4, gives authority to the state legislatures, then why are you not in Texas? And why are you in Washington, D.C. doing press conferences with federal officials?
I was just going to answer that. It's a great question. And what I was saying is when President Trump lost the election, he told Republicans across the country that he didn't lose the election. And this caused Republican legislators in state capitals from Georgia to Austin to start putting forward bills that would make it harder to vote. And actually, Texas is one of the hardest places to vote in the whole country. And so when this started, many of my Democratic colleagues tried to negotiate with our fellow legislators, most of them Republicans, to try to make the bill less damaging, less harmful, less dangerous to constituencies across the state of Texas. Unfortunately, our Republican colleagues didn't want to negotiate with us.
Is 17 days of early voting and adding an hour of voting too much? Is it too difficult to provide, I don't know, your driver's license number and the last four digits of your Social Security number? Is that too much to ask a voter in Texas?
So what this bill does, and I'm glad you asked because it gives me an opportunity to correct something you said earlier, which is that this bill actually reduces the amount of time for early voting.
Oh, it does?
So in Texas, currently, a county can extend voting to 24 hours. You can actually vote all night, which is really convenient if you work during the day. A lot of working folks aren't able to get off work to go vote.
It's voting at 2 a.m. in the morning. It's voting at 2 a.m. in the morning that is the key issue. Is there anyone in Texas that's not currently able to vote? Because I've heard the hyperbole. This is Jim Crow. This is voter repression. This is the Civil War from the leadership of your party. Is there currently a single example you can provide me of a registered citizen voter in Texas that can't vote if we're fighting the Civil War here?
Thankfully, this bill has not passed yet, and God willing, it won't pass.
No.
This interview was already written before James Talarico said a single word. That is what you have to understand about how this whole thing was built. The guest sits down, and before he can answer anything, the host hands him a script and tells him what he believes. Pete said this: "It kind of seems like they're just using you as a prop or a puppet." Here is what people don't realize about an opening like that. It is not a question. There is nothing inside it to actually answer. It is a frame, and the only two doors it leaves open are agree with me or prove you are a puppet by disagreeing with me. It is a trap with a microphone attached. Then it falls apart in about 10 seconds. James answered this: "I'm an 8th generation Texan. I've only been in DC twice in my life. A former middle school teacher who ran for a state house seat." That is the man who had just been described as a puppet flown in by national power brokers. And notice what happens once that line lands. The host doesn't adjust. He doesn't say fair enough. He moves straight to the next prepared attack, because the caricature was never built off the guest in the first place. But the moment that genuinely got me comes a little later, when James stops him mid-question. James said this: "It gives me an opportunity to correct something you said earlier." And the reply? Pete's response was this: "Oh, it does?" Two words. Two words that tell you he was arguing about a document he had not actually read. He had just spent the previous minute listing what was supposedly inside that bill, with total confidence, in the tone of a man reading off a briefing card. The second someone tells him his description was backwards, all of that confidence turns into a question mark. And by the way, walking out to deny a quorum is not some modern stunt invented for cable television. In 1840, a young Illinois state legislator named Abraham Lincoln jumped out of a state house window trying to stop a vote from being taken. Same tactic, same reason. It is as old as American legislatures themselves.
If the bill passes, will there be any minority or woman that's not able to vote?
So the person who oversees elections is appointed by a Republican in the state of Texas. It's a Republican-appointed Secretary of State. And she actually said that Texas's elections in the past 2 cycles were safe, smooth, and secure. Those were the 3 words that she used to describe it.
But we also had, as you pointed out, your party has pointed out time and time again, we needed to expand these things because of COVID. And by the way, I didn't see a whole lot of COVID going on that private plane without those masks, but I digress. So if COVID's not there, or ultimately minimized in our application, shouldn't we be making sure that the rules go back to something that makes sense, that's reasonable?
That's a great question. I think, in the pandemic, we learned that a lot of things can be made more convenient and more accessible. A lot of folks are working from home instead of having to go into the office. And that's exactly what we learned in voting. We can change some of our voting systems to be more accessible to more people.
Quick question. Are you okay with voter ID? Are you okay with voter ID? Because you're going back to the talking points. I get it. The talking points have been issued. Are you okay with voter ID?
So voter ID is currently required in the state of Texas. I opposed having to
How about for mail-in ballots?
To vote.
How about having to send your ballot in? Should you have to prove who you are? Because that's what Democrats are opposing.
Pete, I just said I oppose voter ID. Currently, it's a law in Texas, but I oppose that law because I think you don't need it.
You oppose voter ID? You don't think the most sacred obligation of our republic, you should have to prove who you are in order to vote?
So there are a lot of Texans, actually hundreds of thousands, who don't have a driver's license, who don't drive at all.
Do they have a Social Security number? Because according to this Republican law, you could put your last 4 digits of your Social Security number in as proof of who you are. Did they not? No, help me out. Did those people not have Social Security numbers? And who are these people that can't get IDs?
So, Pete, if you're talking about the bill that we're currently focused on, not past Texas law, what this bill is going to do is not only reduce voting hours, it's also going to empower these partisan poll watchers who are going to look over voters' shoulders and prevent them from exercising their God-given right.
Partisan poll watchers, you mean the ones that weren't allowed in certain states at certain times in certain places, whether you agree with that or not? So Texas says maybe we should have partisan poll watchers on either side, Republicans and Democrats, right? It wouldn't just be Republicans.
Do you remember a second ago when I talked about the big lie? This is exactly what I'm talking about. And the reason that so many folks believe in this country is because folks like you get on television, James, every night and
said you don't want voter ID. We're not talking about that. You just went on national television and said you don't want voter ID, revealing exactly what Democrats. And it's so condescending to say that people can't get identification. Have you found someone in your district that can't get identification?
Watch the technique in this stretch, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Pete asked this: and who are these people that can't get IDs? Good question, real question. And then he does not wait for the answer. He asks it, he answers it himself, he asks it again, he talks over the reply, and then he informs the guest that the guest is dodging. You have to understand what that accomplishes. If an answer never gets to finish, the audience at home never hears it, and the host gets to walk away saying he asked and received nothing. And this is the part that blows my mind. James finally gets one full sentence out, and the sentence is a correction. James said this: "If you're talking about the bill that we're currently focused on, not past Texas law." That is the entire interview compressed into one line. The host had spent minutes swinging at rules that already existed, rules nobody in that room was arguing about, and treating it as a rebuttal to something that had not even passed. Wrong target, full confidence, victory lap included. Then James does something most guests are far too polite to do. He stops defending himself and points at the format itself. He tells Pete to his face that people end up believing things because hosts like him repeat those things night after night after night. And the reaction to that is the tell. No defense, no argument, a subject change, delivered fast, right back to the safest talking point available. Here is what I keep coming back to. A guest can be wrong. A guest can be unprepared. That happens constantly, and it is completely fine. But when the person asking all the questions cannot survive one single question in return, the exercise stops being a debate and becomes a performance where only one chair is allowed to lose.
You have made a lot of money personally, and you've enriched a lot of corporations with advertising by getting on here and spewing lies and conspiracy theories to folks who trust you. And so what I'm asking you to do is to tell your voters right now that Donald Trump lost the election in 2020.
At least you've resolved the lie that is Democrats are now for voter ID. It's not your show, sir, but at least you resolved the idea that Democrats are not for voter ID.
Did Donald Trump lose the election in 2020?
Real quick.
Can you answer the question? Did Donald Trump lose the election in 2020?
I'm answering questions. Don't really feel any obligation to answer anything
an uncomfortable question for you?
No, it's
See, this is Pete, the reason
my question is why are you in Washington, D.C. and not in Texas when your job is in Texas? Because you know it's inevitable that this bill is going to pass. Eventually, you're going to have to pay your hotel bill and go back to Texas, and Governor Abbott will declare a special session. So you're being used by national Democrats to try to pass H.R. 1 to federalize elections, which you as a Harvard grad should know better because the Constitution puts that in the hands of state legislators who are supposed to be in their state, and you happen to be in Washington, D.C. I don't understand how you square that circle.
I can answer. So based on the oath that I took for this office, I have to uphold the Constitution. I have to uphold our democratic system. And I, as a Texas Democrat, I'll tell you this, we lose a lot on the floor of the Texas House. We lose votes on abortion and guns and immigration.
Are you going to flee the state on those? Why is this number one? Is this the biggest?
That's how democracy is supposed to work.
All right.
The reason this is different,
we're going back.
The reason this is different is that they're trying to rig the rules of the game.
Oh,
we can debate
rig
issues.
the rules of the game.
We can debate issues,
asking
but we
people
cannot
to prove who they are. Real quick, I'm going to end with this.
Democracy itself.
Your party's been obsessed with COVID standards, yet the CDC and the White House says you need to wear one on a plane. Why didn't you guys?
So all of us are fully vaccinated that got on the plane without a mask. Per CDC
if you're fully
guidance,
vaccinated, can I get on a plane then? Got
all
it.
We're trying to do
good.
is follow
as long as I know that you support that
you.
if you're fully vaccinated, you get on a plane. That seems like a good official position.
Our constituents, unlike our home state senator who fled our state not to serve constituents, but to abandon them.
And then it happens. The reversal. James said this: "You have made a lot of money personally, and you've enriched a lot of corporations with advertising by getting on here and spewing lies and conspiracy theories to folks who trust you." Sit with that for a second, because of who it is aimed at. Not a political opponent. The man running the show. In his own studio, on his own network, in front of his own audience. Guests do not do that. Guests smile through the ambush and go home and complain about it later. James decided he was not going to. And then he asks one question back. After 8 solid minutes of being asked question after question after question, he asks a single one of his own. Pete's answer was this: "I don't really feel any obligation to answer anything." That is the moment. That is the whole video right there. Because everything leading up to it depended on the idea that the host was owed answers. That sitting in that chair meant you had to respond to whatever he decided to throw at you. The instant the direction flipped, that entitlement evaporates. No obligation. He said it out loud, on camera, and moved on like nobody would notice. You cannot demand accountability from somebody while announcing that you personally are exempt from it. Those two things do not fit inside the same person at the same time. And watch what he reaches for immediately after, because it is revealing. Pete said this, which you as a Harvard grad should know better: "An insult wearing the costume of an argument." When somebody starts attacking where you went to school, they have run out of things to say about what you actually said. That is a white flag with a smirk on it. Then James closes, and honestly, it is the cleanest hit in the entire clip. James closed with this: "Unlike our home state senator who fled our state not to serve constituents but to abandon them. The whole premise of this interview was that leaving your state disqualifies you." And in one sentence, he points at somebody from the other side who did exactly that, for reasons nobody could dress up as principle, and who paid almost nothing for it. The standard was never really a standard. It was a weapon, and it only ever pointed in one direction. That is why this clip still holds up years later. Not the policy, the mechanic. A man who set every rule of the conversation, then refused to live inside a single one of them the second they applied to him. So what do you guys think of this? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.